The federal finances are subject to constitutional requirements about how our money's managed. So the Constitution lays out a framework and essentially says all the money spent must be approved by Congress in an appropriations. Okay? So there is a constitutional requirement, and then there are laws promulgated by Congress related to how federal financial management must happen. So, for example, when I worked in the Bush administration, we had a law passed requiring that the federal government have audited financial statements. So a budget is your plan for what you're going to spend. Congress then appropriates and agrees to the budget, and then your financial statements report what happened. So a budget is a projection, and a financial statement is a report that says, okay, here's what we did. We were part of a group of people in the first Bush administration who got laws passed requiring audited financial statements. That requirement went into effect in 1995, and to this day, 2013, has never been performed. So every Secretary of the Treasury since then has produced a report saying, oh, we can't produce audited financial statements as required by law. Now, if you had a publicly traded company that refused to produce audited financial statements, you would be shut. The SEC would shut you down. The exchanges would refuse to trade your stock. You couldn't borrow money. Okay, you couldn't access capital. We're in a unique situation where we have an enterprise, the federal government, that's able to access capital all around the world. It's the largest issue of securities in the world, despite the fact that it is not obeying the laws, not just of financial management now, because as we've produced audited, or the Secretaries of the Treasury has reported that they can't produce audited financial statements, what has come out is that there are trillions of dollars of undocumentable adjustments. What does that mean? It means we're also not obeying the Constitution. So large amounts of money are being transacted and spent that have not been appropriated by Congress. So we have a financial mechanism which is functioning outside the laws of the Constitution and the laws of federal financial management. We know that. If there was any doubt about that, what came out during the bailouts was a series of both congressional actions and central bank transactions, and probably Secretary of the Treasury transactions. Again, we don't have audited financial statements, so we can't tell. That essentially, if one were going to guess based on what the various inspector generals have said, we literally gifted or gave $27 trillion to the banks. We can account for some of it. But the reality is we don't have transparent, reliable information about the financial operations of the federal government, let alone the central bank, which is operating in many respects as an agent for and running many of the federal accounts. So in essence, we have a federal financial operation which is functioning outside the law, is engaging, that we can document in criminal transactions and enterprise, and for which we have no reliable information about what is really going on. So you literally have the world's largest securities operation acting significantly outside the law. The perfect story. In 2000, I went to meet with the chief of staff to the senator who ran the appropriations subcommittee that overseed a whole series of agencies, but including HUD. And I was trying to get my company paid. HUD owed my company several $1 million. And so this is a person I knew the senator, but I didn't know the chief of staff. And so this was I was trying to be as non-controversial as I could possibly be. And the person said to me, "What do you think is going on at HUD?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you think is going on at HUD?" They looked me dead in the eye and said, "HUD is being run as a criminal enterprise." Now, if you understand, HUD at the time was the largest mortgage insurance operation in the world. So you're talking about at that point, over $1 trillion of liabilities and securitized, or securities related to the mortgage market and the engineering of the housing bubble. Because the engineering of the housing bubble in this country came out of HUD, Treasury, and the central bank. So you're talking about $1 trillion financial operation. So here's the chief of staff to the senator who oversees the appropriations for HUD saying that HUD is being run as a criminal enterprise. And it was funny because it had taken me 12 years to come to face that fact. And I looked at the person and I said, I don't disagree. Now, here's the secret. HUD is run on a matrix structure that involves the Treasury, the Department of Justice, the Federal Reserve, the New York Fed, and the top member banks of the New York Fed, who run all the different servicing for a lot of the mortgage and the securities operations. If HUD is being run as a criminal enterprise, it can only be run as a criminal enterprise if proactively those organizations are running it as a criminal enterprise, because basically they control. So if what she was saying to me was the Department of Justice, the Treasury, HUD, and the central bank are running the mortgage markets of this country as a criminal enterprise. Now, that's not me. That's the chief of staff to the head of the Appropriations Subcommittee in the Senate. If you look at mortgage fraud in this country, it has been engineered and organized at a governmental level, and it's been going on for decades. We've been through a cycle that has been the most significant level of fraud, but if you look at the kind of fraud and the systemic nature of it, it's been going on for decades.